2 years ago, we sold our much loved, rock solid red Scarlet-w and red Scarlet-MX and picked up an Ursa Mini Pro G2 and the Pocket 6K in their stead. This video is an honest reflection on that decision and the ramifications 2 years later and why. So firstly, if you're interested in watching my video on why we switched, I'll put a link below in the description of this video. So firstly, shifting from red to Blackmagic Design was kind of a tough call to make. I don't think it's a stretch to say that red sits higher on the pecking order of camera manufacturers than Blackmagic. Red cameras are shooting massive Hollywood productions, and it was kind of cool to be able to say, hey, we shoot on red cameras. Our cameras shot The Hobbit and the Total Recall remake. Just kidding. Blackmagic typically are not shooting big Hollywood productions though, at least not as A cameras. Red cameras are also more expensive, and hence why we're able to sell ours and pay for brand new Blackmagic cameras, as well as some other pieces of kit like a really good satchel fluid head and carbon fiber sticks, and still have money left over. So I'm going to split this into a few different discussion settings, and the first being reliability. So the Pocket 6K has been rock solid. The Ursa's been a tale of two very different years. We had a repair, then a replacement, then a minor repair on the replacement, all in the first year. For the past year, it's been great, and we've used it in dusty as hell, hot, humid conditions, day in, day out. The most recent repair to the replacement Ursa just had the front SDI port fixed, so that was a pretty minor thing. I've made videos about these issues in the past, but basically prior to that, our first Ursa bricked on us on a commercial shoot with about a dozen agency people present. Not fun. A runner went and got another one from our rental house, which cost us for the couple of days of shooting we had. Then I had issues with the screen not working a few months after that. So look, reliability with the G2, just based on my experience, and keep in mind, others have had a flawless experience, but based on my experience, that lack of reliability is an issue that does make me hesitate, like recommending the camera to others. If it wasn't for that, I would be yelling at everyone to stop what they're doing and buy one, because the image quality and the feature set is pretty much unrivaled at that price point, except perhaps by the Ursa 12K. All right, point two, did it stop us from getting any work? Like shit, not having reds and having Blackmagic cameras. Not having a red hasn't stopped us from doing any work. None of our clients, either direct companies or agencies, have cared and have been really happy with the results from the G2. We've now got an Alexa Classic 2, but due to its size, weight, power consumption, lack of internal NDs, that's really only for narrative work and interviews, not fast-paced branded stories, which is our kind of bread and butter stuff. And if there's a budget and a push from a client for a name brand camera, Arri seems to be the brand that is most preferred in my little corner of the world. Point three, the reds were never designed to be all-rounders. So I'd consider myself an aspiring filmmaker. I make short films at the moment. I've done one sort of feature doco or thing that turned into one with a wonderful actor and acting teacher about the acting process, but my living's made making videos for corporate and commercial clients and a bit of government stuff too. Reds are designed for making movies, which I do a bit of on a very low budget short level, but I shoot and make way more video than I do like narrative work, you know, often under immense time constraints. So for branded content, for doco style corporate work, the Ursa G2 and the 6K, now the 6K Pro, which has been added to our mix too, they've proved far better tools than reds for the work that makes us the most money. That's not a criticism of red. They're designed for filmmaking, not video production. And these things aren't weaknesses or issues in that arena. For shooting digital films. So to summarize, the Blackmagic cameras, they boot faster, they consume less power, they cost less. The G2 and 6K Pro have internal NDs, have decent onboard audio recording without any accessories. And Blackmagic RAW, although perhaps not as flexible as R3D, is still is still an incredible codec and quite simply the best and fastest I've ever worked with for branded content work. The varieties of compression are so incredibly useful, and the lowest constant quality setting, Q5 on the G2, has proven to be our mainstay for corporate content, retaining good quality and keeping the file sizes relatively small. The fast boot time and built-in NDs, now that I have them, I don't know how I went so long without them. I've been able to get shots that I simply would have missed before or had to compromise on aperture or something to get. It's funny now though that Red has integrated autofocus ahead of Blackmagic. I mean, I rarely use autofocus because my cameras don't have them, except for this X-T3, and I've hired Canon cameras to make use of theirs a few times on a gimbal, and I've been amazed. I think we're probably at a point now that I think it's become an expected feature for video production, and Blackmagic is probably losing out on some sales for not having it. That's just my opinion. I can't back that up with anything substantial. I think the pocket cameras pack enough of an image quality punch that they have an excuse not to have it at this price point. But I hope whatever Blackmagic does next integrates autofocus, because particularly for gimbal work or one-person band interview shoots, it'd be nice to be able to set the camera, shoot at a wide aperture, and not worry about the talent leaning in and out of the focus plane. Point 4 image quality. I do think the Red Dragon sensor, which is what we had more dynamic range. And I never saw any aliasing on it. On the Ursa with the raw light filter installed, aliasing and moire have not been a real world issue for us at all. The Blackmagics I think are a bit cleaner, and the 6K benefits from that dual native ISO. But the Red image was somehow a bit more organic to me, maybe a bit more filmic, but honestly, they're both awesome. You could make subjective arguments for either, one being better than the other. I've never actually shot a narrative short on the Ursa or the 6K because we picked up an Alexa Classic, and that is just so natural and kind of has such a transparent image. Like sometimes I see something shot on Red and I'm like, that's shot on Red. Or I see something shot on Sony and I'm like, that's really green, that's a Sony. Just kidding, I know, you know what I mean. The ARRI just has really pleasing skin tones and even the noise, and there is noise, but it looks really organic, really genuinely like film grain. But it'd be a paperweight trying to shoot fast-paced content with it. However, for narrative work, it's my favorite camera that we've owned. All right, so my final thoughts. Do I miss having a Red? Do I miss having a Red? I loved how small it was when you just had that monitor on top and a little lens on the front and the top handle, and just walking around and getting quick shots and having access to, you know, you can do that with a 6K, but you don't have 100 or 120 FPS on that. I wouldn't say I miss it, but because it hasn't stopped me from getting any work or anything like that. But I do have great affection for that camera. I think it's got a fantastic image, and yeah, I have a lot of, I guess, affection for it. I wrote a couple questions for myself. Yeah, would I own a Red camera again? The Komodo really interests me because of the global shutter. I've heard it doesn't have as much dynamic range as is claimed. I don't know if that's true or not. I've never touched one, but at being so small and being global shutter, I think it's great. The only thing is, it is really a filmmaking tool. Like having the other cameras that we have, it would be hard to make the case to buy it, but I'm really interested in it. And yeah, I'd never say never. I love Red cameras. I think they're awesome, and my reliability experience with them was awesome as well. So never say never, but I think like when we got the Alexa Classic, the idea is that's a future B cam to an Alexa Mini or an Amira. And that's more than likely the direction we take. Although yes, I would really miss Blackmagic RAW and the R3D workflow, which is also very good. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think in terms of camera decisions and choices, I think it all comes down to like, what are you doing with it? And actually, you know, is it for a very definitive, clear purpose? Because we have cameras that we buy for different things. Like I'm shooting on an X-T3 right now. And for really fast-paced corporate stuff, like image quality-wise, like incredible photos, but video-wise, I find it just doesn't have the flexibility or the dynamic range that the Blackmagics have. And sometimes we have issues cutting it in and it stops us from using it. It's wonderful for something like this, and I can put the autofocus on and it's great. And for very fast-paced event or corporate work, which we don't do, like event, we don't do that a lot, but we can chuck it on a Ronin S and it's a great camera for that, you know, for that purpose. And then, you know, the Blackmagics are these great all-rounders that you can shoot kind of cinema quality stuff on it, in my opinion. But they're also great, you know, all-round video cameras for more doco style content. Again, Red's not like you can't do that. You can add accessories to them to have better audio, to have like an ND filter wheel and these sorts of things. You know, but they cost a lot more. So it's all about what are you using it for, and then the economics of the industry where you are and the kind of work that you do. And it's just what makes your job faster and easier and enables you to get more or better shots. And for the work that, again, you know, pays our wages the most, the Blackmagics have been a really good option. But boy, those Reds are really at home on a, on a narrative set. There's no doubt about that. It's a bit of a rant at the end there, sorry. Yeah, consider subscribing or don't. Like, I don't know who you are. So yeah, do what you want.